Good morning, students. This is Sivakrishna from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, TBS Institute of Technology, Kavali. Today I am going to presentation on design of spark gates. The subject name is Design of Mission Members 2. This is the unit number 4, Design of spark gates. Introduction. We have discussed earlier that the slipping of the belt or rope is a common phenomenon in the transmission of the motion or power between two shafts. The effect of slipping is to reduce the velocity ratio of the system in precision machines in which a defined velocity ratio is of the important, as in which mechanism the only positive drive is by gears or toothed wheels. So by using the slip gears is to reduce the slipping of the velocity ratio of the system. The gear drive is also provided when the distance between the driver and the follower is very small. Friction wheels. The motion and power transmitted by the gear is kinematically equivalent to the transmitted by frictional wheels or disc. The frictional wheels is the power transmitted by the gear in a kinematically equivalent to transmit the power is the frictional power is wheels or disc. In order to understand how the motion can be transmitted by two toothed wheels, consider two plain circular wheels, so A and B mounted on a shaft. So you can see the figure, it will be arranged with two shafts, so it is A shaft and B shaft. The wheels have sufficient rough surface and press against each other as shown in the figure. So the two shafts is pressed together, so it will rotate in opposite directions. So A shaft rotates in clockwise direction and B shaft rotates in anti-clockwise rotation. Let a wheel A key to a rotating shaft and wheel B shaft is rotated. A little consideration will show that the wheel A is rotated by the rotational shaft and will rotate the wheel B is opposite direction. So as shown in the figure, so we already discussed about. So the wheel A rotate in one direction, the wheel B rotate in another direction. When touching the two wheels in place of distance is Rn, the force F equal to mu Rn is upward the force and the pressure P is downward. The, the wheel B will be rotated by the wheel A so long as the tangential force extended by the wheel A does not exceed the maximum frictional resistance between the two wheels. But if the tangential force P exceeds the frictional resistance F, the slipping will take place between the two wheels. So you can see the figure. So this will is the frictional force is acting upward the force F is equal to mu Rn. The pressure P is acting downward. In this rotating of the frictional wheel, the slipping is provided between the two wheels. The slipping is taken place between the two wheels. The while rotating the two wheels, the slip will be provided. In order to avoid the slipping, so when avoid the slipping, the number of projections called teeth. So as shown in the figure. So we can see the figure. This is the figure B. So this is the teeth is arranged by the driven and follower. So the teeth is providing the shafts will not slipping are provided on a periphery of the wheel A, which will fit into the corresponding recess on the periphery of the wheel B. A frictional wheel with the teeth cut It is known as gear or toothed wheel. The usual connection to show the toothed wheel is by the pitch circle. So you can see the figure. So this is the pitch circle. The dotted lines indicate the pitch circle. So the driver will rotate in the clockwise rotation and the follower will rotate in anti-clockwise rotation. So in this driver and follower, if you arrange the teeth profiles, well, teeth is arranging the driver and follower without not slipping the two wheels. So you can see this is the front view and the top view. This will arrange the two shafts and the line of contact will be arranged in the gear or tooth profile. Next, advantages and disadvantages of gear drive. The following are the advantages and disadvantages of the gear drive as compared to other drives. So other drives are belt, rope and chain drives. Advantages: it transmits exact velocity ratio. It may be used to transmit large power. So the gear you use to the gear you by using the transmit the large power. It will be used for small center distance of the shaft. It has high efficiency. It has reliable service. It has compact layout. So this is the advantages in the gear drive. Yes, disadvantages in the gear drive. Since the manufacture of the gear requires special tools and equipment, therefore it is costlier than the other drives. The main disadvantage is manufacturing of the gears. It requires special tools and equipment to use it. It is a costliest process than compared to the other drive operators. So other drive means belt, rope and chain drivers. By using the gear drive manufacturing, the gear manufacturing is by gear designing, by using the special tools and equipments are used. So it is a costlier process. That's why this is the main disadvantage in the gear drive. The error in cutting tooth may cause vibrations and noise during operations. Next, another disadvantage is while cutting the teeth, it may be vibrations and noises is during the operation noise, and that means when operating the cutting operation, this will be very high noise is produced and vibrations also. That's why the gear will be cutting teeth are some errors will be occurred. So this is the another disadvantage. It requires suitable lubricant and a reliable method of applying it for the proper operation of gear drive. Next, another advantage is required suitable lubricant is applied for preparing the gear drive. So this is the disadvantages of the gear drive. Next, classification of gears. The gears or toothed wheels may be classified as follows. So the classification of the gears can be classified into many shafts. So we can discuss it one by one. The classifications are according to the position of axis of the shaft. So this is the first classification according to the position of axis of the shaft. The axis of the shaft, two shafts between which the motion is to be transmitted. The axis of the two shafts between the motion of the transmitted. So it may be parallel, intersecting and non-intersecting and non-parallel. The first one, the two parallel and coplanar shaft connected by a gate is shown in figure. These gates are called spur gates and the arrangement is known as spur gate. Two parallel and coplanar shaft connected by the gates. So as shown in the figure, so you can see the figure. So this is the figure. So you can see the figure. This is the two shafts arranged parallel. And coplanar shaft connected to the gate as shown in the figure. The gates are called spur gates and the arrangement is known as spur gate. The gates have teeth parallel to the axis of the wheel. So as shown in the figure. Another name is given to the spur gate is helical gearing, in which the teeth are included the axis. The single or double helical gears connected parallel shaft as shown in the figure A and B respectively. So you can see the figure, this is the single helical gear and a double helical gear. So you can see the figure, the hatching lines indicate the single gear. So this is a double helical gear. So this will be some V section will be arranged to the diagram. The object of the double helical gear is to balance out the end thrust. They are included in single helical gear when transmitted loading. The double helical gear is known as herringbone gears. A pair of spur gears are kinematically equivalent to pair of cylindrical discs. Cylindrical disc key to a parallel shaft having line of contact. The two non-parallel are intersecting but coplanar shaft connected by gates as shown in the figure C. So this is the bevel gear. These gates are called as the bevel gear. The bevel gear is two non-parallel or intersecting but coplanar shaft connected by the gate. So we can see the arrangement. This is the bevel gear arrangement. Two non-parallel intersecting arrangement. So these gears are called bevel gears and the arrangement is known as bevel gearing. The bevel gears like spur gears may also have the teeth inclined to the face of the bevel, in which they are known as helical bevel gears. The two non-intersecting and non-parallel, that is non-coplanar shaft connected by gears is shown as figure D. So this gears is called screw bevel gears or spiral gear. So you can see the figure, this is the spiral gear, this is the line of contact. So the two shafts is connected with each other and a non-coplanar shaft connected to the gear. So this is the screw bevel gears or spiral gear. This type of gears also have the line of contact. So you can see the figure, this is the dot lines indicates the line of contact. The rotation of which about the axis generates the two pitch surface is known as hyperboloids. So you can see the figure, this figure shows the hyperbolic shape. So that's why if the axis will be generated two pitches, this surface is known as hyperboloids. Next, another classification according to the peripheral velocity of the gates. According to the peripheral velocity of the gates. The gates according to the peripheral velocity of the gates may be classified as low velocity, medium velocity and high velocity. The peripheral velocity of gates can be classified into three stages. So low velocity, medium velocity and high velocity. The gates having velocity is less than 3 meter per second. So the velocity is less than 3 meter per second is known as low velocity gates, and the gear having velocity between 3 and 15 meter per second is known as medium velocity gates. If the velocity of gates is more than 15 meter per second, this type of gates is called high speed gates. So the peripheral velocity of gates can be classified into three stages. So low velocity, medium velocity and high velocity. The gate velocity less than 3 meter per second is low velocity gate, and the gear velocity between 3 meters and 50 meter per second is known as medium velocity gear, and finally the high velocity gear is more than 50 meter per second. This is the high speed gears. Next, another classification according to the type of gears. So the gears according to the type of gears may be classified. So the type of gears can be classified into three types. The first one is external gears, the second one is internal gears, the third one is a rock and pinion gears. So first the external gears, the gears of the two shafts mesh externally with each other. So as shown in the figure here. So you can see the figure. This is the external gears. The two shafts mesh externally with each other. So externally means outer surface. The large of these two wheels is called spur wheel or gear, and small wheel is called pinion. In an external gear, the motion of the two wheels is always unlike. So as shown in the figure here. So the large wheel is known as spur wheel or gear, and small wheel is known as a pinion. The external wheel means the spur wheel outer surface rotated with the pinion. The shaft and pinion is touches to the will be a help of teeth arrangement. So it is called external gear arrangement. Next, internal gears. In internal gears, the gears of the two shafts mesh internally with each other. So as shown in the figure B. So you can see the figure that this figure shows the internal gearing. The two gears will be meshed with internal surfaces. The two gears, the two shaft and meshes with the internally. So the gears will be meshed in internal surface. That's why this is internal gearing. The large of the two wheels, this two wheels is called annular wheel, and the smaller wheel is called pinion. In an internal gear, the motion of the wheels is always like so as shown in the figure. So this will be rotate internal surface. That's why it will be called as internal gearing. Compared to the figure here, so this will be the gears will be rotated in the outer surface. That's why you can call it as a external gearing. So next, sometimes the gears of the shaft meshes externally and internally with the gears in the straight line as shown in the figure. Such a type of gear is called rack and pinion. Next, another type is rack and pinion. So the gears will be arranged in a straight line. The straight line arrangement is called rack, and pinion is rotated in clockwise rotation. The gears and shaft meshes externally and internally with gears in a straight line. So straight line arrangement is called rack and pinion arrangement. The straight line gear is called a rack, and the circular wheel is called pinion. A little consideration will show with the help of rack and pinion. We will convert linear motion into rotary motion and vice versa, as shown in the figure. So we can see the figure. This is the rack and pinion arrangement. So the rack and pinion arrangement will convert the linear motion into rotary motion. or vice versa, means rotary motion to linear motion. So rotary motion means the pin will rotate in circular motion and rack will rotate in linear motion. Linear means horizontal motion. So that's why this is the rack and pinion. The rack will rotate in horizontal motion, the pinion will rotate in circular motion. That's why you convert the power is linear motion to the into rotary motion. Next classification and last classification. According to the position of the teeth of the on the gear surface. The teeth on the gear surfaces may be straight, inclined and curved. We have discussed earlier that the spur gears have straight teeth, whereas helical gears have their teeth inclined to the wheel rim. In case of spiral gears, the teeth are curved into a rim surface. So this is the classification of the gears. Next, terms used in gears. The following terms used in the gears. What are the following terms used in the gears are? Which will be most used in this chapter, should be clearly understand step by step. So first term is pitch circle. In an imaginary circle which by pure rolling action would give the same motion as the actual gear is called pitch circle. Next, pitch circle diameter. It is the diameter of the pitch circle. The size of the gear is usually specified by the pitch circle dia. It is also called as pitch diameter. The pitch circle diameter is there is the diameter of the pitch circle. That means total size of the gear. The size of the gear usually specified the pitch circle dia. The size of the gear is known as pitch circle dia. Is called pitch diameter. Next, pitch point. It is a common point of contact between the two pitch circles. So pitch point is, it is a common point between the two pitch circles joined in a single point. This is called pitch point. Pitch surface. It is the surface of the rolling disc which the meshing gears have replaced the pitch circle. Pitch surface is the surface of the rolling disc which the meshing gears have replaced the pitch circle. This is called pitch surface. Pressure angle or angle of obliquity. It is the angle between the common normal to two gear teeth at the point of contact and the common tangent at the point pitch point. So it is usually denoted by pi. The standard pressure angle is 14 1/2 degrees centigrade and 20 degrees centigrade. Addendum. It is the radial distance of tooth from the pitch circle to the top of the teeth. It's called addendum. So dedendum means it is the radial distance of the teeth from the pitch circle to the bottom of the tooth. It's called dedendum. Addendum circle. It is a circle drawn through the top of the teeth and the concentric, which is pitch circle. So dedendum circle. It is a circle drawn through the bottom of the teeth. It is also called as root circle. Next, circular pitch. It is the distance measured on the circumference of the pitch circle from the point of one tooth to the corresponding point of the next tooth. It is usually denoted by PC. PC means pitch, circular pitch. So mathematically it will be represented as circular pitch. PC is equal to pi d by t, where capital D is the diameter of the pitch circle and T is the number of teeth of the wheel. A little consideration will show that the two gears will mesh together correctly if the two wheels have the same pitch, say circular pitches. So we can calculate the circular pitch. This is equal to pi d into pi d by t, where capital D is the diameter of the pitch and t equal number of teeth in the wheels. So you can see the figure. This is the terms using the gears. So the terms is addendum. So you can see this is the addendum and this is the dedendum. So the dotted line. So this line indicates the pitch line. The pitch line is indicates the distance between the addendum and the dedendum. In bottom, so the arrow mark pitch line above is addendum, and bottom of the pitch line is indicated in the dedendum. So this is the face width. The face width is the distance between the gear teeth. Width of the gear is the face width, and the top of the dotted line is indicates the addendum circle. So this line indicates the addendum circle and dedendum circle. Dedendum circle is, so this one, this dot line indicates the, so this dot line indicates the dedendum circle. So dedendum circle is or root or dedendum circle. So this is the root or dedendum circle. The distance between the distance between clearance and addendum circle is working depth. So this one is to indicate the face. So this is the face and this is the flank. So this is the pitch surface element. So this point is indicated the pitch surface element. Next, the distance between this line to the distance between the two gears inner surface to the outer another gear inner surface is circular pitch. So this is the circular pitch. So this indicates the thickness of the teeth, tooth thickness. So indicating, so this is the tooth thickness. So this arrow mark is indicate the tooth space. The distance between the two tooth is some angle space. This is the spacing between the tooth space. Next, so the distance between the addendum circle to dedendum circle, the gap is the total depth. So total depth is this one. So this arrow mark indicates the addendum circle. So this one indicates the dedendum circle. The distance between the addendum and dedendum circle is total depth. This is the total depth indicates the addendum circle to dedendum circle. Next, this is the clearance. Clearance will be adding the clearance or working depth circle. So this dotted line indicates the clearance or working depth circle. So the distance between clearance or working depth surface and the dedendum circle, the distance between the bottom will be indicated. So this is the clearance. The clearance is the distance between clearance or working depth circle and root or dedendum circle. The gap will indicate the clearance. So this is the terms used in the gate teeth. So gate teeth will be terms we can discuss one by one. So addendum, deddendum, clearance, circular pitch, and we can calculating the formula. So circular pitch PC is equal to pi d by t. So it will be two teeth will be arranged. That's why we can note it. PC is equal to pi d1 by t1, that is equal to pi d2 by t2. So we can cancellation and pi on both sides. So finally you can calculating or d1 by t1 equal to d2 by t2. PC is equal to d1 by d2 equal to t2 by t1. So this is the terms used in the gates and circular pitch calculating the formula. So next terms we can discuss it one by one. Next, dimensional pitch. It is the ratio of the number of teeth to the pitch circle diameter in millimeter is denoted by PD. So mathematically it can be represented as diametral pitch PD equal to TD by T by D. Since PC is equal to pi D by T, that equal to pi by PC. So we can replacing T by D equal to pi by PC. That's why we can replace it. So PD equal to T by D. So we can calculating since PC is equal to pi D by T. So we can note down pi by PC, that equal to D by T. So we can rearranging the formula. Since PC is equal to pi D by T, we can cross multiplication. Pi by PC is equal to D by T, but dimensional pitch P is equal to T by D. Since we can replacing T by D equal to pi by PC, where T is equal to number of teeth and capital D equal to pitch circle diameter. Next 12th one, module. It is the ratio of the pitch circle diameter in millimeters to the number of teeth. It is usually denoted by M. So mathematically, module M is equal to D by T. Since we can replacing D by T equal to M, so this is the module. Next, clearance. It is the radial distance from top of the tooth to the bottom of the tooth is a meshing gear. A circle passing through the top of the meshing gear is known as clearance circle. Next, total depth. It is the radial distance between the addendum and the dedendum circle of the gear. It is equal to the sum of the addendum and dedendum. It is, we can calculate as a total depth of the gear. The next, working depth. It is the radial distance from the addendum circle to the clearance circle is equal to the sum of the addendum of the two meshing gears is called working depth. So you can see the figure also. Next, tooth thickness. It is the width of the tooth measuring along the pitch circle. So you can see the figure. So this is the tooth surface. This tooth surface, tooth thickness. So tooth thickness is, so this is the tooth thickness, that the width of the tooth measured along the circle is called tooth thickness. Next, tooth space. It is the width of the space between the two adjacent teeth measured along the pitch circle. Next, backlash. It is distance between the tooth space and tooth thickness as measured on the pitch circle is the backlash. Face of the tooth. It is the surface of the tooth above the pitch surface. Next, topland. It is the surface of the top of the tooth. So topland is, so this is the topland. It is the total surface of the tooth, gate teeth. So this one indicates the topland. So this is the topland. So this will arrange the top of the teeth. Next, flank of the tooth. It is the surface of the tooth below the pitch surface. Face width. It is the width of the gate tooth measured parallel to the axis. So face width, we can see the face width. This is the face width. It is total surface of the gate teeth is known as a face width. Face width parallel to the axis. Profile. It is a curve formed by the face and flank of the tooth. So this is the profile. Next, fillet radius. It is the radius has the radius that connects the root circle to profile the teeth. Patch of contact. It is the patch traced by the point of contact of two teeth from the beginning to the end of the engagement. Length of the patch of contact. It is the length of the common normal cutoff by the addendum circle to the wheel of the pinion. Is the length of the pitch of the contact. Next, last one, arc of contact. It is the path traced by the pinion of the pitch circle from the beginning to the end of the engagement of the given pair of the teeth. The arc of contact consists of two parts, so arc of approach and arc of recess. It is the portion of the path of contact from the beginning of the engagement of the pitch point is called arc of contact. So arc of recess, it is the portion of the path of the contact from the pitch point of the end of the engagement of the pair of the teeth is called arc of recess. So these are the terms used in the case. So next, forms of teeth. How the teeth will be formed. So we can discuss in Article 28.6 that conjugate the teeth are to be common use. Therefore, the actual practice, the following are the two types of teeth that are commonly used. So what are the teeth? Cylindrical teeth and involute teeth. We shall discuss both the above mentioned types of teeth in the following article. So both these forms of the teeth satisfy the conditions as explained in Article 28.6. So first you can discuss in a cylindrical teeth, cycloidal teeth and involute teeth. So cycloid teeth, a cycloid is a curve traced by a point of circumference of the circle which rolls without slipping on a fixed straight line. The cycloid means the circle rotates without slipping in a fixed straight line is called. So this is the, so cycloid teeth is, so this is the one straight line. So this is the circle. So the circle will rotate. The rotation of the circle is this direction. The rotation of the circle will passing through a without slipping will passing through a single straight line. So this is called a cycloid. So cycloid means circle rolls without slipping will passing through a straight line is called a cycloid. When a circle rolls without slipping on a outside of the fixed circle and curve traced by a point of circumference is known as epicycloid. That means, so this is the circle rolls without slipping, rotates in outside of the circle. So this is the one circle, this is another circle. This circle will rotate outside of the circle is called epicycloid. So on the other hand, if the circle will roll without slipping in the inside of a fixed circle of, then the curve traced by a point of circumference is called hypocycloid. So this is the hypocycloid. This is on one circle. The circle will rotate inside without slipping. So the circles will rotate inside of the circle without slipping. So this type of arrangement is called hypocycloid. Circle rotates outside of the circle is called epicycloid, and inside circle rotates is called hypocycloid. The circle rotates without slipping in straight line form. The circle rotates in a straight line by using without slipping arrangement. So it is called cycloid. So cycloidal teeth will be classified into three stages: cycloid, epicycloid, hypocycloid. So circle rotates in fixed straight line without slipping is called cycloid. So the circle rotates in outside circle without slipping. So the circle rotation arrangement is called this. The circle rotates in clockwise rotation. This will be epicycloid arrangement. Next, the circle rotates in inside of this circle is called hypocycloid. So this is the cycloidal teeth arrangement. In figure A, the fixed line or pitch line of rack is shown as shown in the figure. This is the figure. You can see the figure. This is the pitch line. The pitch line indicates the cycloid. The rolls, the cycle will rotate in without slipping in form of a straight line. So this is the cycloid. When the circle C, so you can see this is the circle C, this is the circle D. The circle C rolls without slipping above the pitch line. So you can see the figure. This is the pitch line. The circle will rotate without slipping in the above the pitch line. So in the direction of indication, we can see the figure. The direction of indication is this one. So this is the direction of indication. Then the point P on the circle traces the epicycloid PA. So PA, this is the epicycloid PA. This represents the face of this cycloid tooth profile. When the circle D rotates, rolls without slipping and below the pitch line. Then we can see the figure. The circle D rotates below the pitch line. So this will be rotates, and the point P on a circle D traces the hypocycloid PB. So this is the hypocycloid PB curve, which represents the flank on a cycloidal teeth. So you can see the profile. The profile B. So the profile is, so this is the profile BPA. So this is one profile, is one side of the cycloidal rack teeth. Similarly, the two curves So P dash A dash and P dash B dash. This is the two curves forming the opposite side. So this is one side, this will be forming the opposite side of the tooth profile. It traces the point P dash and the circle C and circle D rolls in opposite direction. So this is the cycloidal teeth. In a similar way, the cycloidal teeth of the gear may be constructed as shown in the figure. So this is the figure. You can show the figure B. In a circle C is rolled without slipping outside of the pitch. So this is a pitch line, pitch circle. The circle rotates without slipping in outside of the pitch circle. And point P and the circle C traces epicycloid. So PA is notated as epicycloid, which represents the face of the cycloidal teeth. So this is the cycloidal teeth will be represent. The circle D rolls inside the pitch circle. The circle D is rotates inside the pitch circle, and the point P and the circle D traces hypocycloid PB represents the flank of the tooth profile. The profile BPA. So we can similar to the this is a BPA profile. The one side of the cycloid tooth and opposite side is the traces the explained above already seen. So this will be explained in previous slide. Next, the construction of the cycloidal teeth. The construction of the two mating cycloidal teeth as shown in the figure. So you can see the figure. This is the construction of the two cycloidal teeth arrangement. This is the pitch circle of the wheel A and pitch circle of the wheel B. So the dot lines. So these dot lines indicate the pitch circles of the wheel A. So this one indicates the pitch circle of the wheel B. So the figure C and figure C. Sorry, the circle C and circle D rotate with by helping of the two gears will be arranged with the help of the gear arrangement. The point of circle D will trace the flank of the teeth T1 when circle D rolls without slipping on the inside of the pitch circle of the wheel 1. The face of the teeth T2 when the circle D rolls without slipping on the outside of the pitch circle of the wheel 2. Similarly, a point of circle C will traces the face of the tooth T1 and flank of the tooth T2. The rolling circle C and D may be unequal dimensions, but if several wheels are to be interchangeable, they must have rolling circle to equal dimensions. A little consideration will show the common normal X. So this is the common normal line. So XX is the horizontal line. So this is the common normal line XX. At the point of contact between the two cycloidal teeth always passes through the pitch point, which is the fundamental condition for the constant velocity ratio. So next one, involute teeth. An involute of the cycloid is a plane curve generated by a point on the tangent which rolls on the circle without slipping by or a point of taut string which is unwrapped from the rail as shown in the figure A. In connection with toothed wheels, the circle is known as base circle. The involute is traced as follows. Let A be the straight, so we can see the figure. So this is the base circle and rolling tangent. So this is the circle. The base circle can be divided into 4 parts. When one part will be divided into some equal divisions. So P1, P2, P3. When the rolling tangent, this is the, when passing through the curve, this curve will indicate the involute teeth. So this is the involute teeth will be passing through a touching to the P1A1 and P2A2 and P3A3, and intersection point will be noted point A1, A2, A3. When passing through this normal range, this is the radius of the curve. This curve indicates the involute teeth radius. So this TT is the tangent, rolling tangent to the particular teeth. Let A be the starting point of the involute, and the base circle is divided into equal parts. So example AP1, P2, PT, AP1, P2, P2, P1, P2, P2, P3, etc. So you can see the figure. This is the AP1, P1, P2, P2, P3. This will be divided into equal parts. The tangent of P1, P2, P3, etc. are drawn the length P1A1, P2A2, P3A3 equal to the arcs A1, P1, A2, P2, AP1, AP2 and AP3 are set off. So joining 3 points. So we already discussed it. We can see the joining the points A1, A2, A3 with passing through the normal, etc. We will obtain the involute curve AR. So this curve is known as AR is known as involute curve. So already discussed it. So AR is indicate the involute curve. A little consideration will show that any instant A3, the tangent A32 to the involute is perpendicular to the P3A3, and P3A3 is the normal to the involute. In other words, the normal at any point of the involute is a tangent to the circle. Now let O1, O2 is a fixed center of the two base circles as shown in the figure B. So you can see the figure B. This is the O1 and O2. This is the two centers. So this is the O2. So this one is the O1. So O1, O2 is the two fixed centers and two base circles as shown in the figure. So let the corresponding involute. So this is the corresponding involute. So it is AB. So the dotted lines indicate the AB. Sorry. So this one is indicate the AB curve and A dash B dash. So this is the another involute curve to contact at the point Q. So that two curves, the involute curves AB and A dash and B dash. So touching to the one single point. This point is indicate the Q. So this is the Q contact A dash and B, A dash B dash and AB touching to the two curves with contact to each other. This is the indicate the Q. MQ and NQ is a normal to the involute at Q. So this line MP and NQ. So this is the normal to the involute at Q. So this is the involute to the Q and tangent to base circle. So this one is the base circle. So the dotted lines indicate the base circle. So the base circle tangent while passing through the MQ and NQ. The MQ and NQ line passing through the straight line. So this will touches to the base circle. Will touches to the base circle is perpendicular the joint. So the point, the tangent is a base circle. So MQ and NQ are normal to the involute, and Q is the tangent to the base circle. Where Q is the tangent to the base circle. Since the normal for an involute is a given point, the normal drawn from the point to the base circle. Therefore, the common normal MN at Q. So common normal is MN at Q is also common tangent to the base circle. So we see that the common normal MN intersect the line of center O1 and O2. So the MN will intersect the O1 and O2 line of contact O1 and O2 at the fixed point. So fixing the point P is called pitch point. So we can see the point P is called pitch point. So therefore, the involute teeth satisfy the fundamental condition of constant velocity ratio. From similar tangents, similar triangles, O2NP and O1MP. So this is equation number 1. So we can form series similar triangles O2NP. So we can see the triangle. So this one is the O2NP. This is the one triangular. Next another one is O1MP. So this is the two triangles will be arranged in the from see the figure. Similar triangles O2NP and O1MP. So O1M by O2N that equal to O1P by O2P that equal to omega 2 by omega 1. So this is the equation number 1. Which determine the ratio of the radii of the two base circles. The radii of the base circle is given by O1M equal to O1P cos phi and O2N equal to O2P cos phi, where phi is the pressure angle or angle of obliquity. Also the center distance between the base circles that equal to O1P plus O2P that equal to O1M by cos phi plus O2N by cos phi. So common on cos phi that equal to O1M plus O2N by cos phi. A little consideration will show if the center distance will change, then the radii of the pitch circle also change, but their ratio remains unchanged because it is equal to the ratio of the two radii of the base circles. See the equation number 1. The common normal at the point of contact still passes through the pitch point. As a result of this, the wheel continues to work correctly. However, the pressure angle increases with the increase in the center distance. So next, comparison between involute and cylindrical gears. The actual practice, the involute gears are more commonly used as compared to cycloidal gears due to the following advantages. So advantages of the involute gears. The following are the advantages of the involute gear. The most important advantage of the involute gear is that the center distance for the pair of involute gear can be varied within limit without changing the velocity ratio. This is not true for cylindrical gears, which requires exact center distance to be maintained. The involute gear, the pressure angle from the start of the engagement of the teeth to the end of the engagement remains constant. It is necessary for smooth running and less wear of the gear, but the cylindrical gear, the pressure angle is maximum at the bearing of the engagement, reduces the zero at the pitch point, starts increases the again increasing and again become maximum at the end of the engagement. This result is less smooth running of the gear. Next, continuation from the advantages of the involute gear. The face and flank of involute teeth are generated by single curve, whereas in a cylindrical gear, double curve, that is epicycloid and hypercycloid, are required for the face and flank respectively. Thus, the involute teeth are easily to manufactured than cycloid teeth. The involute system, the basic rack was right teeth and the same can be cut with simple tools. Next, advantages of the cycloidal gears. The following are the advantages of the cycloid gears. Since the cycloid teeth has wide flanks, therefore the cycloidal gears are stronger than the involute gears for the same pitch. Due to this reason, the cycloidal teeth are preferred specially for the cast teeth. In cycloidal gears, the contact takes place between the convex flank and the concave surface, whereas in involute gears, the convex surface are in contact. This condition results in less wear in cycloidal gears as compared to involute gears. However, the differences in wear is negligible. In cycloidal gears, the interference does not occur at all. True, these are advantages of the cycloidal gears, but they are outweighed, outweighed by the greater simplicity and flexibility of the involute gears. So these are the advantages of the involute and cycloidal gears. Thank you.